It sounds hard. Do you have to struggle by yourself in handling those? I think it's really hard to maintain everything financially. You have to pay for your research, you have to pay for your living costs in Japan, and you should pay for your tuition fee in university also.
Yes, you're right. It's really hard for handle the we cannot do the I know how to say it. Fuzoku.
Full-time job? I don't know. What is that?
It's something bad. I know you yeah.
Okay, illegal.
Yeah.
Hello, SUGEE people. My name is Risti Tania, and welcome to SUGEE Kansai podcast. Yay! SUGEE Kansai is all-in-one multi-support media that helps foreigners living in Kansai area, Japan. In this podcast series, we will listen to interesting or unique stories, tips and tricks to survive in Japan, life hacks, and other useful information directly from the foreigners who live in Japan. So today, on our show, we will have a special guest from China. She is a master degree student of economics at Osaka University, and today she will join me in this podcast by sharing her experiences on how survive as a foreign students in a Japanese university. So let's check it out.
SUGEE Podcast 3, Chen Xin, being a foreign student in Japan.
Hello, Chen Xin.
Hello, Risti-san.
Thank you for joining me today in SUGEE Kansai podcast. Before we move to the main topics, could you tell us a little bit about your background?
Hello everyone, my name is Chen Xin. I come from China and I have lived in Japan for a year and a half. Now I am a master student of the Graduate School of Economics at Osaka University. My major is economic history. The main reason for me to come here to continue my study is that I like watching Japanese drama and I want to experience real life in Japan. Actually, entering Osaka University is not a simple matter. We need to prepare for the pronunciation test of English and Japanese, also the writing test and interview of our major course. I study at my own expense. Some students can obtain the conditions for studying abroad at public expense, but the premise is that they must return to work after graduation.
Whoa! Thank you so much for your great self-introduction. I noted some interesting points from your introduction before. So, you should take the proficiency tests of English and Japanese. Is that means the one who wants to enter Japanese university should have Japanese proficiency skills? Because I know some of my friends who don't speak Japanese at all and they can enter and learn in Japanese university. Is that different rules or condition from yours?
Well, actually, it depends on universities and your profession. In the case of your Osaka University, students of liberal arts need to pass N1, and students of science of engineering need to pass N2. But included Osaka University, lots of universities have English program, which means you can take all courses teaching in English. So people who want to enter Japanese universities should find information about them in advance.
For you guys who didn't know about the Japanese language proficiency test, or known as JLPT, consists of 5 different levels: N5, N4, N3, N2, and N1, while the N5 is the lowest one. To get N5, you just need to get a really basic Japanese skill, such as reading hiragana and katakana, making simple sentence or expressions, and know some basic grammar, while N1 is the highest level of JLPT. To get N1, you should be able to reading or write things with logical complexity and or making abstract writings in the Japanese language. So that means the people here who enter the Osaka University, same as Chen Xin, already passed the highest level of JLPT. Okay, then let's move to the next part. Then, Chen Xin, how did you learn Japanese? Did you take a Japanese language school or Nihongo Gakko, or did you learn by yourself? Did you already learn Japanese even before you live in Japan?
Yeah, I learned Japanese by online Nihongo school before I come to Japan because I searched for lots of information about the graduate school of economics at Osaka University, and it requires people to pass the N1 test before taking the entrance exam.
Oh, do you have any unique ways to learn Japanese? For example, like remembering the vocabulary by watching some anime dramas or hearing some Japanese songs?
Yes, after I come to Japan, I bought a television to watch dramas and variety shows so that it can create a language environment for me. I recorded my favorite programs, and when I find something I don't understand, I will post the video and find the explanation online. So it helps me learn lots of vocabulary that never written in textbooks.
Oh, and also, do you have any special tips for our listener on how to learn Japanese fast?
Actually, my Japanese is still not so good until now, but in my opinion, there is no shortcut to learning a language. So if you want to learn fast, you need to give more effort. I recommend you to think like a Japanese, because every day we spend much more time thinking than other things. So when you are thinking about what to say, what to eat, what to buy, and anything else, please give up your mother language. Use Japanese. As I said, it is painful and you need to put a lot of effort, but it really works.
I heard that we need at least N2 to be able to learn at a regular class of Japanese university. What I mean by regular here is the Japanese only class, not the class that held in English. But in my opinion, N2 is not enough. I have N2 certificate, but I still can't even speak proper Japanese. What do you think?
Yes, I agree with you. Before I came to Japan, I need to pass the JLPT N1 test, so I just learned knowledge and test taking skills that is necessary for N1. But after I came to Japan, I found even I passed N1, I can't understand what they are saying easily. So N2 is not enough because JLPT only tests the input capability as listening and reading. I think output such as speaking and writing is more important. So making more Japanese friends and talking with them in Japanese is a better way for us to improve all output and input at the same time. You need to listening to what they said or reading the message they sent. It is input. And you should reply the words, so it is output. Communications are more important than language certificates for us to master a language, I think.
Oh, thank you so much for your tips on learning Japanese. These tips are so useful for me and other SUGEE people who listen to this podcast. Okay, now let's move to today's main topic. It is about how to survive as a foreign student in a Japanese university. It's quite difficult for foreign students to blend in and fit in. Is that true?
Yeah, I think the period of the first 6 months in Japan was the hardest time in my life. Even China is an Asian country, I am still not used to eating some Japanese food like namahamu or some kind of tsukemono. Also, Japan attaches great importance to etiquette and sense of ceremony, which is always so unnecessary for most of Chinese, and it always makes Japanese find out that I am a foreigner.
Oh, I know that. I cannot eat kind of nama things because there's no such kind of custom or culture in Indonesia also.
Yeah.
And for sukemono, I think it's too sour for me. But I don't know for Japanese. And also the food that I cannot eat is natto.
Oh, I like natto.
Seriously?
Yeah, I
How
love
come
it.
you?
Because in China, there are also some things like natto, and people like eat it. So
But because I cannot stand the like stings,
Yeah.
because it stings, and when I try to eat at the first time, it's really slimy.
Yeah.
Like as if I eat something that comes from my runny nose. Something like that. Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. Maybe it's only my personal opinion. By the way, don't get yeah. Okay. Natto. But I think most of Indonesian is same with me. But anyway, it's okay. Sorry for interrupting you. Let's move again to the next question. And okay. So, you say that the first 6 months is the hardest time in your life. Could you explain more about this? What is the cause, and how can you get accustomed to after that 6 months period? Okay, serious topics.
Yeah, because it is my first time going abroad and I never live alone before, so I need to rent the house, buy furniture and something like that. So it makes me feel tired and helpless because I am here alone and I don't have family here. So I spend more time on this than I thought. Because of the language barriers and the customer differences. So, but 6 months later, I'm getting used to the curriculums of school gradually. Also, I started my part-time job and meet lots of friends. So everything is getting better after that.
So you got your part-time job after 6 months?
Yeah.
So what did you do in those 6 months when you got the hardest?
Because I was preparing for the examination of the economic school of Osaka University, so I don't have so much time to have a part-time job, and after I passed the exam I have a lot of time, so I need to do a part-time job. Yeah.
Okay. And then, do you have any obstacles or problems during your study? Could you let us know what kind of obstacles or problems you got?
Yeah, history students are always painful during the final exam as they need to memorize the contents of several books. And also, it is hard for me to collect information for research because my research is to compare the development of the medical device industry between China and Japan. And it is hard for me to gather the database of the Chinese medical industry since I'm living in Japan.
What did you do to solve all those problems then?
For the final exam, we work in groups. For example, each of us students is responsible for organizing the key points of one book into a story so that we can understand and memorize them easily. Then we exchange the documents with each other. For my research, every time I go back to China, I will go to the library to find the materials and keep them. I also pay for people who can search data for me in China.
Oh, it sounds hard. Do you have to struggle by yourself in handling those? I think it's really hard to maintain everything financially. You have to pay for your research, you have to pay for your living costs in Japan, and you should pay for your tuition fee in university also.
Yes, you're right. It's really hard to handle them all by myself. Osaka University has a tuition fee waiver system, and I am so lucky that I received a waiver of 3/4 of tuition because I have a part-time job. I make money from a part-time job to maintain my daily life, and the remaining tuition fee is sponsored by my family.
So Osaka University has a tuition fee waiver system. How can you got that?
I think not only Osaka University, but also a lot of other universities, they both have this system, and every foreigner students can apply for that, so it is easy for us. And how much money can you save is depend on your personal situation. So if you have a part-time job, the government or the school will think that you need to it's harder for you to pay for all the tuition fees, so you can get a more discount of the tuition fee than others.
Is that any like academical requirements for that? For example, the GPA minimum, blah blah blah.
Yeah. GPA and your family situation and your what kind of part-time job you are doing and how many revenue are you are getting. So they will consider about all of these elements and decide how much money you should pay for your tuition fee.
Wow, it's great. So SUGEE people who want to apply for the tuition fee waiver system, you can like find out the information on your on the university itself, and they have so many different rules and requirements. Maybe I don't know. You can find out by yourself, and yeah, that's all. Maybe that's really things that what SUGEE people want to know. Yeah, about the tuition fee waiver system. And also there's also some question about regarding the part-time job. So is there any rules to apply for the part-time jobs for the foreign students?
Yeah, actually for foreign students, we have a restrict that we need to work under 28 hours per week. So basically we cannot do some everyday work. We just do part-time job. Yeah, and we cannot do the, I don't know how to say it, fuzoku.
Full-time job? I don't know. What is that?
It's something bad.
Okay, illegal.
Yeah, like that.
Illegal work. Understand.
So if you do that, you will be,
get in trouble with the police. Be careful, guys. And how can you find it? I mean, like, what do you find it by using like internet, like some website, or you go to the career centers of your university to get part-time jobs? Or
I think we always use the internet. We download the application like Town Walk.
Okay.
Or might not be part-time job, something like that, so we can search for the part-time job that is suitable for us. It's easy, I think.
Oh, thank you so much. So SUGEE people, if you want to find a part-time job, you can just download the application through your phone. Okay, then let's move to the next question. Do you have any tips for SUGEE people who want on how to live under budget in Japan? Because you know that Japan have really high living expenses. So I think if compared to my country, it's really super expensive. So maybe you have kind of suggestion or tips, tricks, something like that.
Yeah, compared to my country, it is also very high, I think. So first, I think about income. I recommend you find a part-time job with a relatively high salary, like a translator or English teacher or something like that. Also, the university offers tutor positions for students. Maybe the salary is not so high, but it is a great way for students to make friends and save time for your own study. About the expense, I think you can go to Gyomu Super, which is the most famous cheap supermarket, to buy daily necessities once a week. It is a good way to cut the cost. Finally, buy only what you need. Maybe after you come to Japan, you may find there are lots of good things to buy, but try not to let unnecessary things occupy your lives. Then you will gradually realize what you really need. Anyway, it is also a good way to save money.
Oh, thank you. As for me, I found like Hyakueng shop, like it's really useful, like Daiso or something. So you guys, when you come to Japan, there's like a store that provide everything in 100 yen, or maybe it's around $10. $10? No, $1.
$1.
Not $10. Sorry, $1. $1.
$10 is still high.
You can find anything in $1. Can you imagine? So I think that's also one way to live under budget in Japan. Oh, okay. Let's move to the next session. In this session, we will discuss some quick facts that I found on the internet related to the foreign students' life in Japan. Based on my quick research on internet, there are two common problems or obstacles that happen to most of the foreign students in Japan. Those are first, language barrier, second, closed society, third, culture shock. It was found out that most foreign students feel as if they were outcasted due to the language barrier. As you know that not all Japanese people can speak English fluently, and it's hard to befriend Japanese if you can't speak Japanese. And not so long ago, Japan has known as one of the isolated countries due to Tokugawa shogunate policy. Now, Japan is more open to the world, but still, that closed culture is still there. Therefore, most of the foreign students feel it's hard to be accepted by their Japanese community. Also, there are really strong and unique customs and cultures. Sometimes give the foreigners an awkward culture shock. What do you think about this?
Actually, I think language barriers are the main reason why it is difficult to blend in Japanese society, because even I learn Japanese, I can't understand what they are talking about because they speak in Kansaibian. Even if they speak standard Japanese, I still cannot understand them all because people never speak with sentence from textbooks, right? So, but this problem was solved after I made friends with a lot of Japanese. Only when you start to communicate with native speaker friends will you find that most of them are friendly and willing to help you improve your Japanese level. Also, it is true that closed culture is still having a deep influence on this country, but we should pay more attention to the changing trend of Japan. We can see the policy changes made by the Japanese government and the changes in the attitude of the Japanese people towards foreigners. Anyway, I think Japan is becoming international and becoming suitable for foreigners to live in.
As for me, in my opinion, it's not so difficult to make friends with Japanese. They just shy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you want to make friends with Japanese people, you should go. I mean, like, just make the first move.
Yeah.
Like, just say hello and introduce yourself, and don't be afraid. They just shy. They want to make friends with the foreigners, but they just shy. I think that's my opinion, though. I don't know about Chen's opinion. So
I agree with you.
Okay. So you find it easy to make friends in Japan, right? Japanese friends, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm asking you that because some of my foreign friends prefer to hang out with the international community compared to their Japanese classmates due to the language barrier, and they say to me that they don't feel accepted in Japanese community because they are gaijin.
I think for me it is my selection to make Japanese friends because I hope to improve my Japanese level and I want to make new friends. And for me it is easy to make Japanese friends because I always actively meet new people who want to make foreign friends through a lot of channels. I can't deny that there are some Japanese that don't accept gaijin. we can't change others' thoughts, but we can decide who we make friends with, right? So, and if you have a try, you will find many school organizations or social organizations, they are trying to create an environment where Japanese and foreigners can communicate with each other.
SUGEE people, so the terms gaijin is it's like the Japanese terms for foreigners. It consists of two words, gai and jin. Gai is outsiders, outside, and jin is people. So outside people from outside Japan, something like that. So that's trivial. So and okay, thank you so much for the really interesting discussion, Chen Xin.
Thank you.
Let's move to the last session of this podcast. Okay, Chen, could you share your tips and tricks on how to survive as a foreign student at a Japanese university?
Yeah, I think sometimes you need to forget that you are a foreign student. Use your network resources at school to make more friends and get help in school and life. But sometimes you need to remember you are a foreign student so that you can respect different cultures and get respect from others also.
Wow. So you should forget that you are a foreigner. In these terms, like, just blend in, guys. So SUGEE people, just blend in. If you want to get accepted, like, act as if you are Japanese. Don't think, I'm foreigner, so I don't have to hang out with these Japanese guys. Don't be like that. Don't close your chance. So just be easy, be natural, something like that. And also there are really nice point that Chen say something about. It's like, but remember you are a foreigner so that you can respect different cultures and get respect from others. This is also important, guys. So yeah, if you already get blend in with Japanese, but still deep inside you should think about their cultures and respect them. Don't like, so even if you think that's unnecessary or unimportant, but just respect respect them and just follow what you should follow. Something like that. So for the culture, and then what are the things that keep you motivated to finish your study in Japan?
Yeah, when I first come to Japan, I am scared of talking with Japanese because I'm so embarrassed at that time. I can't even respond to the staff of a convenience store. So I decided to attend the volunteer Japanese classroom at Osaka University. And the Japanese people here were very helpful and they tried their best to teach us Japanese phrases used in daily life, which helped me get rid of the fear of speaking Japanese. So this thing made me realize the friendship of Japanese, and it also makes me want to stay in Japan to learn not only economic history but also Japanese culture.
So the things that keep you motivated is the Japanese attitudes towards you. They are friendly and they want to help you. In getting used to or getting accustomed to live in Japan. Something like that.
They let me change the image of the Japanese. So.
Oh, it's really interesting because as for me too also, when I just got married with my husband and moved to Japan, before I live in Yokohama, I attend some of the volunteer Japanese classroom in Yokohama, and the volunteer teacher is obasa. It's really old ladies, something like that, and maybe it's grandma. And of course they cannot speak English at all, and in that time I don't even get N4. So can you imagine how can I speak with that Obachan Tachi? And like we just like doing the signal, something like that, like wow, hand signal, and I'm using really super broken Japanese, but they really supportive towards me and really patient. And I don't know, even I feel them as a part of my family in that time, and really give me motivation to learn Japanese more. And what I found that even though I far away from my real family in Indonesia, I feel that Obachan Tachi is one part of my new family in Japan. So I think that's also really important for me. Okay, sorry for telling my story. And okay, before I ask you the last question, could you tell me from scale 1 to 10, on what scale will you recommend other people to continue their study in Japan?
I think I will give 5 because it depends on people. As you know, I am from China, so we have a similar culture to Japan. But for people who are from other different places and who do not know a lot about Japan, I think they should be considered carefully. As for me, I feel comfortable living in Japan because it is a good place to live in. The 24-hour convenience stores are everywhere, and you can buy nearly anything you need here. Japan is very safe, and Japanese people are polite, so you can enjoy a peaceful life here. If you want to learn about economics, I will recommend you to come here because economics is very strong in Japan.
Oh, yeah. So you give the natural scale from 1 to 10. You give 5. Yeah. Okay. I think it's right. It will depend on the people.
Yeah.
Like something like that. As for me, as my personal opinion, personally, I like to live here in Japan, and because what? Because I found it's so peaceful here, and it's so easy to live.
Yeah.
You don't have to struggle. Like if you categorize this as a game, Indonesia is level 70. While Japan is level 5. Guys, you don't have to struggle. I mean, like, it's really safe. You can go anywhere you want anytime.
Yeah.
Even in the middle of night. It's impossible in Jakarta or in another Indonesian cities, like big cities, because it's the crime rates, it's really high. And if you lost your wallet in Japan, it will come back to you. What a miracle is that?
Yeah, I have this experience. I agree with you.
Yeah, like where you can find this kind of things? Only in Japan, like something like that. So it's so easy to live, guys, here. And then okay, and do you have any suggestion or recommendation for anyone who wants to continue their study in Japan?
My suggestion can be summarized in one sentence. Don't be afraid. Just do it. Don't be afraid of your project Japanese. Try to speak with Japanese. Don't be afraid that you have no friends here. Try your best to make new friends. Everything is changed from the moment you start taking action, I think.
Oh, so I like it. Like everything is changed from the moment you start taking action. What a nice quote. Okay, so thank you so much for the valuable information. This is so useful for me and SUGEE people out there who want to continue their study in Japan. So SUGEE people, today's conclusion will be, for you SUGEE people who want to enter Japanese university, you should find out about the requirement and the registration process first, because each university has its own unique registration system. And then you should consider whether you want to use your own expense or try to apply for a scholarship. For SUGEE people who want to try to apply for a scholarship, you should check the requirements and the premises. Some scholarship require its applicant to go back to their country after they finish their study in Japan. And if you choose to use your own expense like Chen Xin, you should think about how to manage your finance during your study, get a part-time job, and living under budget is the key. There are no shortcuts to learn Japanese fast. The only way is only to make you get used to it. Sometimes you should forget that you are foreigner. Just blend in. Japanese clothes culture is still there, but it changed gradually. So don't be afraid and actively meet people and be friends with Japanese. As Chen Xin said, don't be afraid, and everything is changed from the moment you start taking action. I really love this quote, by the way. Thank you, Chen Xin, for giving me the best quote for today.
Thank you, First-san.
Yeah, thank you. Well, that's all for today's episode of SUGEE Kansai Daily Life in Japan podcast. Thanks for listening, and thank you to Chen Xin for joining me today.
You're welcome.
Hello, for sharing her tips to live in Japan as a foreign student. And join us again next week because we will have another incredible and inspiring guest to share their experiences. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or Google Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Plus, if you are interested in what we do, you can stop by our website at sugee.gp, SUGEE.gp. Thank you and see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening to SUGEE Podcast. Subscribe our channel and turn on notifications. We provide services for businessmen and professionals who work in Kansai. Arigatou gozaimasu.